point.
Yeah, I'm ready to be done. You live, but I'm still not. I don't have a problem with singing my game. Testing. Connections are unstable. You got the echo. I'm going to start while we got the echo. Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Bender Sr.
Chris Jr., always here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Last week is myself. This week, it's me. This week is Devin. He is not here with us today. He has an interview coming up, and I'm getting ready for it, and I'm excited for him, so I had to announce that and just kind of shout him out. But
can you hear us, Coach Guy?
Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, all those good things. We know we have people that are tuning in and dialing in. As always, continue to comment, live throughout the show. We'll shout those out. We love the live engagement. But today, I feel like it's been a while, but we have a wonderful guest that we would want to introduce shortly. Hopefully you can hear us. Dad, I don't know if you want to give it a try to go ahead and make that announcement here.
Yeah, I'm working on the echo, man. We had echo in there. Can you hear me, Coach Kai? All right, good, man. So I need to do the sound check with you. I need to hear you say something, bro. Yeah, we trying to work out. For some reason, all of a sudden I got an echo, so we trying to work out this echo, man. So give me a second, man. Let me see if we can get this thing taken care of. All right, say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. All right, say something. Can you hear me?
It seems like the echo might be. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that echo's coming from, man. But what about now? Can you hear me? I need you to say something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, we're going to go, man, because I know we got people going to be tuning in, man. So I'll play with it while we're doing it. But,
what if you mute Zoom? Then everybody, I don't know.
So I definitely want to welcome you to the show, bro. I definitely want to welcome you to the show, man. We're glad to have you, man. As Chris said, we're missing the third person. I want to do one more thing to see if you can you hear me now?
Nah.
So let that go. All right. I'm trying to do all these things, man. But anyway, we want to welcome you to the show. I don't know why we got sound problems because I tested earlier, we didn't have it. So obviously there's something going on right now. But I want you to introduce yourself. Tell the folk who you are, man.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Tell them who you are.
All right, cool. I wanted to make sure I was here. My bad. Yeah, we can hear you. Hey brothers, I go by Molly Armstrong, Coach Kai, transformative. Hey brothers, I go by Molly Armstrong, and I speak at prison shelters, churches, and schools, looking to, and I speak at prison shelters, churches, and schools, looking to also inspire, impact, and influence. I look to empower those who feel limited by circumstances. I look to empower those who feel limited by circumstances. So that's what I did to become leaders of life. So that's what I did.
And appreciate the kind of the brief intro, and I know I've had a chance to kind of see your bio prior to things us getting started and meeting here today. So wanted to just kind of hear a little bit more about your backstory. I mean, we can get started about like where you're from, and just kind of if you can explain what your upbringing and experience were like, kind of leading up to where you are now.
Yeah, no doubt. Leading up to where you are now. Man. Yeah, no doubt. I'm getting ready to go deep.
We only got an hour show, man. It's an hour show. It's only an hour show.
All right, brother. So, from what I could really perceive consciousness, right? So, as a child, what I could really perceive consciousness, right? And as a child, that's where life began for me, recognizing abuse. That's where life began for me, recognizing. As I got a little older, I started recognizing my mother is, as I got a little older, I started recognizing she works a lot. There's no father dealing with drugs. Earlier days, days that I'm speaking of now started in Mount Airy. My earlier days down in West Philadelphia started in Mount Airy. Then moved down to West Philadelphia. She would go out, do her thing, leave with my younger siblings. Go out the next day. My grandmother would all younger siblings. After she got off work, chase my mother down, come here back home. After she got off out to school, chase my mother down. Those were my earlier years, and wake me up, get us all out. I just didn't do well in school. I felt my earlier years, and I had to repeat. I wasn't somebody who was I felt interested in that, and then I had to repeat. I wasn't so later on in my years, as I got into my teen years, I became really combative. Later on in my years, as I got into my teen years, I became really combative. My mother has been on drugs and still on high. Her battle, my mother has been on drugs, is happily retired. She does want work still. Battle, my mother, she is happily retired. She does want work still. In my teen years, I got kicked out eventually after going back and forth with my grandmother. In my teen years, I got kicked out eventually. I got kicked out back and forth with my grandmother. After living with my grandmother for a few years, she called. I got kicked out with a girl. After living, that's what started my life in the streets at 15, and with a girl from 15. That's what started my life 21, and I was just in the streets. I was home 15 through I was 21, and I was just in the streets. I was doing whatever it is I could do to survive. Me and in school, friends of mine was in the streets, same doing whatever it is I could do to survive. And we all pretty much dealing with the same thing, right? Some type of poverty, we all pretty much dealing with drug dealing in the household. Poverty we were using, maybe we were selling drug dealing where the household maybe while we're using, maybe while we're selling. But for the most part, it was how we survived. It was all we did. It was everything that was around us. But for the most part, it was fortunately for me. I seemed a bit different than all my friends. And fortunately for me, peers knew it. I seemed a bit different than all my staff members at the school. They also knew it as well. Teachers, they offered us a chance to go to a place called the Covenant House, which is a shelter. They offered me a chance to go to a place called the Covenant House, which is a shelter. I had a meeting here with my friends. And was like, hey, eventually go to this. I think I should go. And they were like, yeah, you should go. Like, you're different. Like, it's something different. And we were like, yeah, you should go. Like, you're different. That's where I was able to get my first job. That's really what. That's where I was able to get my first job. Different trajectory for me. That's really what began this different trajectory. I had a newspaper come out about 2 years after graduation. I had a newspaper come out about. I'm trying to remember if I was still 2 years after shelter or out the shelter. But I was trying to remember if I was still. Newspaper article came out about me. For the most part, it was high school. So newspaper articles reached out to me via email and asked me about job corps and talked to me because I stated in the newspaper that I wanted to be a truck driver or a respected position. Stated, and so you reached out to me and like, hey, do you want to go to Kentucky? That's the only job where they had the CDL program. I was like, yeah, like that's the only Kentucky where I had the CDL program. I go to Kentucky, I take all of Philadelphia, Kentucky, I'm out there hustling, I'm out there dressing, I take all of Philadelphia, I'm out there hustling, 14, 2013, and I have a blast when I eventually get my driver's license, and I have a blast. I eventually get my driver's license. I'm staying with my now. When I come home, my grandmother at the time, I'm staying with my mother. My grandmother at the time, I'm staying with the girl that I was seeing at the time. My mother, between those places, staying with the girl that I was seeing. I'm still in the streets because they weren't hiring at the time as far as truck drivers, or it was me being young, not looking hard enough. So I was doing move jobs, which is my friend, he had a business. He was doing move jobs. I was doing move jobs. I was doing Uber. I was doing Domino's. I was doing UPS. And then I was also still in the streets. So my head was all over the place. My heart was all over the place. And my hands was all over the place.
All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
I'm right there.
All right, because you got a story, man, and you that part is good, but the other part is what you kind of want to dig into.
I mean, that part is important too, because I feel like it's relatable to a lot of kids' probably experience now and today. So like when you hear you talk, it's like you hear that story a lot of times, man. So it's like good to try to make that connection and bridge that
but
gap.
I want to work backwards, because that's the whole thing is about second chances. You know, the whole thing is about second chances, man, and you know, about what you've done, you know, and what you're doing. Like, I definitely want to talk about, you know, you had your friend pipe in. So I want to make sure we had time for all that. But yeah, so go ahead.
No doubt. So upon doing everything that I was doing, my head all over the place, hands all over the place, heart all over the place, on November 16, 2015, while doing Uber, I had just dropped off the passenger. I was on my way to see my best friend to get some pills to flush my system out. I drove around a trolley and I struck Miss Marion Wilson. This woman was 38 years old. She was getting off the trolley, getting ready to head to early childhood education classes to take care of her children. She had 3 boys at a time. One was 18, the other one was approximately 10, and the youngest was no older than 2. So I drove my vehicle around a trolley. I struck Miss Marion Wilson, killing her on the scene. I hit another pedestrian, another car that had a pedestrian in it, and I served 4 years. It's always difficult to talk about. It's always difficult to think about.
How did you begin to, I guess, process the weight of, taking someone's life, or kind of starting to cope or deal with that situation?
It's a really good question, because that's something that I'm still dealing with. I'm still trying to find outlets or ways to deal with it, ways to accept it, ways to forgive myself, ways to handle it. And some of the work that I'm doing now is a bit of an outlet, but it's not nothing that I would say is good enough for me eternally. Inside, the only thing I can do honestly is just give how I feel to God, and just be honest in how I really feel and what I think about myself, and not be so harsh on myself, and just recognize that I'm doing the best I can with what I have at every step of the way in this journey.
And I know you mentioned or said you kind of had to serve some time, like 4 years. Can you explain a little bit of what that experience was like, and like how that may have contributed, if any, to kind of your transformation? I know you kind of, one of your catchphrases that I read was just turning your sorrow into service. So, just kind of wondering if there was anything in particular that was during your time, or like after you may have gotten out, that contributed to that.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I was so fortunate to be around a group of guys. One of them we're going to talk about a bit later. But 3 guys in particular who really had an impact on who I was and who I was, unbeknownst to me, becoming. These guys, I was always somebody who, around my peers, they would say I was wise. But these gentlemen, man, these guys had a lot of time and still have a lot of time left to do, and are fighting the system, trying to get home. Juvenile lifers, guys who were reformed, and these guys were just giving me so much wisdom about life. And the biggest thing that I would say that they always spoke about was how much they're trying to do and how little people who had freedom actually do. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me. Like, we're all behind bars right now, and these guys are running around Law Library, working out, doing this, doing that, sending this here, sending that there. And they acknowledge when they talk to their friends or their family on the phone that, like, you're out there, you got everything out there, and you're doing nothing. You're choosing to do nothing. And I'm in here every day fighting, choosing to fight this fight that seems like it's going to be for the rest of my life. and you got your whole life out there and you're choosing to do nothing. And they would always like confide that to me and how they felt about that. And that was just really powerful for me.
And it kind of reminded me of Wallow. I watch him a lot. He kind of is an inspirational speaker. And, after his time served, he kind of hit the ground running. He just was grinding. And I heard him say a lot of times that, once he got out, like he just had that mindset, I'm going to make the most of this time. Like people just kind of be sitting on their butts and have unlimited time. And we just think sometimes we waste it and don't even realize how much that we actually wasted.
But I want to back up a little bit because I think go a little more detail to what you're doing. You're doing more than just running around doing public speaking, man. You're actually pouring into youth, and your message is powerful. Because you're, and I'm not going to give you a message away because I'll let you share a little bit about that. But I think that needs to be said because, yes, I know you're remorseful for what you did. And you kind of convey that to me all the time. But the message you give those kids, man, other than just the remorse is, and I'll steal one nugget that you guys dropped last time was how when you make a choice, you never think about the variables or what could be possible, consequences of the choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the message that I give to the youth, man, is one better decision. I believe we're all one better decision away from a better life and becoming a better person. But here's the opposite to that, right? When you make a bad decision, you don't recognize who it's affecting or who it's going to impact. I made one decision, right, that cost somebody their life, and it affected multiple generations. We talking about Ms. Mary Wilson. She lost her life. She has 3 boys. They lost their mother. One of the young men is old enough, and I believe he has children. If I'm correct, he does have children, and they don't have a grandmother. So we're talking about one decision, multiple generations impacted. And that goes to the ripple effect that Brother Thunder was talking about. And I really want to equip, empower, and encourage the young guys, right, to make one better decision, to recognize that you don't see who it's affecting. And sometimes you never get to see who it's affecting. But when you make a decision, it's never just about you. You're always affecting something.
So now I want to back up, and this is why I wanted to come in and jump back, because I think to me, when you do the story this way and then talk about the other stuff, you're powerful about how you got to where you are, but also what you had to overcome.
Yeah.
And you say this all the time, no excuses.
Yes. Absolutely. No excuses necessary. You just gotta do it.
Yeah. So I want to go back into a little more, like you talked about, your relationship with your mom and how it impacted you. As I know, we run into a lot of kids and a lot of adults, and they always got the excuse, so my dad did this, my dad didn't do that, or my mom did this, my mom didn't do that. So how do you deal with that?
It's a good question. You have to seek healing, but you have to want to be better about how you handle that situation. So I remember, and this is going to be deep. This is going to be heavy. I remember trying to express to my mother, my grandmother, mind you, I didn't rekindle the relationship. We're all on good terms. I tried to express to my mother and my grandmother, like, yo, I dealt with some SA when I was younger. And my mom, she must have been like out of it because she just blatantly said she didn't give a F. And I was just like, wow, in that moment, it tore me down. I'm tears. And I was just like, I'm not going to be mad at her. Like, she is who she's going to be. Who are you going to be, Malachi? Like, how are you going to let that affect you? In that moment right there, I have a decision to make. When I give her what I just gave her, something that's, when I say valuable, I think I want you to know something that's sensitive to me, right? I gave that to my mother and she did whatever she did with it. And it affected me, but I had a decision to make. Was I going to just cut ties, right? Or was I going to continue to love her for who she is? Because she's doing the best she can with what she has, where she is. And whether she's going to get better or not, that's not in my control. I can contribute, but I got to put myself in a position to. So in that split second, I had a decision to make. And that decision wasn't just to cut my mother off. So I think for brothers who want to stop using exterior motives as a reason to lower themselves, I think they have to choose to always want to be the best versions of themselves. And that's going to mean accepting people for who they are, where they are, with what they have, and you recognizing that you will want to be better. And forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for ourselves. It's for the forgiver. So if I'm forgiving Brother Pender, me forgiving him isn't for him. It's for me.
So one question I had, just in knowing that you kind of have stepped up to share your story, and sometimes I don't think a lot of people kind of lean into that calling and do that. But what was it that made you choose to begin the public speak and share your story? And what was that experience like when you first started out?
It wasn't public speaking and everything I'm doing now found me. It wasn't something that I really chose. I knew over time that I wanted to like coach. I wanted to speak. I didn't know. I just wanted to do like entrepreneurial stuff. Like I got tired of living life the same way. I came across some things, some information. I went to a business conference. It was like, I don't want to do this 9-to-5 stuff anymore. I want to do some coaching. I want to do some speaking. And talking about my life was the furthest thing from my mind. It was like, I'm going to talk about money. I'm going to talk about business. I'm going to talk about, but none of those things, I guess, motivated me enough because I just was like, I was learning a bunch of stuff, financial principles, business principles, and it just wasn't pulling me. And when I thought about speaking about my story, which is when everybody who knows me knows that that's what I should have been doing, I would cringe. Like, I don't want to tell nobody I killed anybody. Like, they're not going to look at me the same way. They're not going to believe anything I have to say, even though I'm trying to help them avoid doing something similar. I can't do that. I can't do that. And even right now, today, like, I still like, man, this is tough. This is difficult. But I recognize, like, if I don't do this, then I have a child. She's going to eventually find out. Who am I being for her, to her? Who do I want her to be? I want her to see me in positions that look tough, that look difficult, that are tough, that are difficult, but I want her to see me stepping up. And I have to want that for myself too, though. So it was really something that kind of just fell on me. It definitely wasn't something that I was like, "Ooh, I'm definitely going to do that." Like, yeah, I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to talk about, taking somebody's life and all that. It was something that really fell on me.
So how did you not let, because, I'm kind of privy here because I know the story. I've heard every part of the story, but how did the stuff you've been through right now, like the stuff you can share what you saw growing up, and how did you not let that traumatize you? Because, trauma is a big thing now. And, and a lot of times, we talk about that a lot. And I always, I say this, and this is a great opportunity. I'm a big proponent that we don't understand trauma for what it is. We always think trauma is we killing somebody, you know what I mean? Or not what we see, how that can be damaging. And you saw some stuff, bro. Yeah. I've seen you in rooms where kids talk all the time. It was quiet.
No doubt. And I respect when it's quiet because that helps me feel like they're listening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, man, for the longest, I suppressed everything because that's what we were told as men to do, right? And that's what men have been doing for generations. But what I've come to learn and what the world is requiring through social media now, that men become emotionally intelligent, emotionally available, but it was something that I started to do prior to that whole thing. I recognize that I look back on my experiences, like in school, I had to talk to a social worker. I had a brother in my life who would actually take time out his nights. I'm talking about the 30, 12, 31, 32 on to really converse with me about the traumatic experiences that I had been through, which helped me become more comfortable with talking about these things. That's when I began to understand, especially more recently. Now I really understand the power of communication, of the power of talking about something. And not suppressing it, because suppressing it does nothing to you but hurt you, like in the long term thing. But actually talking about those things versus suppressing them actually does so much good. Like you feel like almost like as if it's a physical weight. You feel the lifting of the burden or of the pain or of the traumatic experience, but you have to be in a position with someone to really want to get it out. You have to want to talk about it. And I believe a lot of men want to talk about it. They just don't have somebody in their life that's positioned to listen to them the way that they need to be listened to.
Yeah. So my next question just was related to, I guess, continuing to refine yourself today. I feel like you kind of, from 2015 to now, I'm sure you've had a lot of growth. So how do you continue to redefine yourself, I guess, on this road to redemption?
Yeah, no doubt. Lovely question. Personal development. It's one better decision. Like, every day I have to choose to read a book. Every day I have to choose to, go for a run or lift some weights or read, be encouraged, be inspired by the things or the information that I'm feeding myself, learning about myself, wanting to be a better communicator, wanting to be a better father. All these things are personal development. All these things is growth. And if I'm neglecting these things, then I'm neglecting my responsibility. Even if I don't have a child, right? If I'm not growing, I am neglecting myself and the people I could potentially help. But that is what developing myself has taught me, is giving me a different perspective, a new way to look at life. So to anybody listening, if you got to find somebody, anybody, anything, just to get you started until you begin to find your people that you listen to. And whatever they teach at the end of the day, even if it's finance, like even if it's about, I don't know, real estate, it's all going to boil back to you having to become a better person. So it's all going to boil back to you having to make that decision.
So one thing I know too, in just working with youth, is that not necessarily all the time they're as receptive, to people coming in and sharing their messages or stories. So, I would love to kind of hear from your experience, if you could describe, like, what is that like when you're going in there, and how receptive, kids are to you sharing your story. And if there's anyone that stands out in particular, can you share someone who, good or bad, that kind of stands out to you, within that experience?
Yeah, no doubt. I love the fact that they're not receptive, because I was once in that position. I know that sounds crazy, but I was that same student. Like, somebody came to speak, I'm not trying to hear this dude. What he got for me? He ain't got nothing for me. He ain't about to say nothing I care about. I know what it's like. I'm trying so hard to maintain and hold on to the youth that I was. And hopefully when I'm speaking and developing and always refining myself, that I can still use my voice or the language that I use in such a way to let them know, like, I'm with you, I understand you. I'm speaking from a place of compassion when I'm saying these things. So yesterday, for example, I have two, right? One kid asked me, he was asking me about how did I end up homeless, but he was talking low, and I believe his tone of voice was as if he didn't believe me. So I had to be like, hey, bro, like, if you want, you can go online and start typing my name. Like, this is documented. I was homeless in high school, bro. So, like, if you don't believe me, you can go check it online. I said, but the reason why I was kicked out, because my grandma called me having sex with a girl. And the way I said it was, I was clapping them cheeks. Like,
that's how they talk.
Inappropriate. And that's how they talk, though. But guess what? When I said that, the whole room burst out in laughter, right? So now we take the tension off of this story that's building up to this thing.
Right. But it's your rawness. It's your rawness that makes you authentic. It's your rawness that and he wasn't asking the sense of, you got to remember, you're dealing with kids in the suburb. They can't even fathom being homeless. To them, that's like, and he's like, really, like, because you probably the first person they ever met, and the second part of it was, because I know those kids, they think homeless people are crazy. You know what I mean? They're strung out. They're the people with all these problems and issues. To hear somebody like you say that, and then you were speaking their language, which I like. You keep saying get a little more refined. It's your rawness that makes you effective, whether we were there or whether we're in an alternative school.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, they like you said, clapping up cheeks. I would never said that.
They probably would lose it if you said that. They'd be like, yeah.
Well, but you're real to them. You're somebody who can relate to close to the age, and a lot of them don't admit it, but they think they into something by getting high and things of that. And that was a wake up call.
Yeah. Because I was sharing with them.
Yeah.
I was doing marijuana, alcohol, pills, syrup, daily basis.
Yeah, you run the whole gauntlet, bro. You run the whole gauntlet.
But like you said, those are things that they're familiar with and know when they hear, and like in a way, they connect to that and it resonates, and it's like they see a bit of themselves in you when you're sharing that story, and then you kind of taking them on that ride of like your trials and tribulations. So that's why I'm definitely interested to kind of hear more about how kids actually receive that message when you're sharing it to them.
Yeah, I'm always reading the room. I'm always looking at facial expressions, manners, body language. I called the kid out yesterday. I was like, look, MPC, he fell asleep. He is sleeping, right? He is sleeping. And then I got another kid. All the traumatic stuff. He laughed that I was being sexually abused. He laughed at all that stuff, right? And up until the November 16th, 2015, I went and ran a trolley. I struck Miss Marion Wilson. I killed somebody's mother, 3 men's mother, right? And left her dead at the scene. I stayed on the scene. But up until like that moment, he was laughing at every bad experience that happened to the other kid to sleep. I called both of them out. But when I brought up November 16th, the day that I killed Miss Marion Wilson, all of them was just like, because they was not expecting it. All their faces, eyeballs lit, jaws to the floor. And I'm like, yeah, like this is real life.
But it was also the way you did it. I know you said you were calling them out, but actually you didn't, because you didn't say, hey, you. You just glanced around the room and you said you sleeping. He knew who he was. And everybody else knew who he was. When they were laughing, you didn't, because that's how a lot of times I'm in the room with speakers, they get in trouble because they make it confrontational. They embarrass the kid in front of the peers, man. Hey, you, and you didn't. You just spoke like you were speaking to the whole crowd, but they knew who you were speaking to. But I know we're about to move into the second half, so I want to go over. You did something I've never seen in my life, and it's funny because I told my wife, I said, I was almost tearing up. When you called your boy, from jail, and he was, dropping some nuggets. He was. And he was just as real as you. But it's two things I want to point out, and then I want to talk about that. One, they were blown away when y'all both said y'all love each other. I saw looks on their faces. They don't hear men say that. They were, especially men in jail. They were like, boom. I saw every hit. I don't know if you caught it. Everybody got mesmerized when y'all said that. When y'all said that. Then when he said he was in there for, that was like, I could tell at that point you had their attention. They was like, yo, these ain't no soft, sweet dudes.
I want to know what he's in there for. Like, I
so you shared some stuff, and he did. So I want you to talk about that relationship, how you got it, the product that came out of it. I'll let you drop that, but I'm not going to, what you guys end up producing, and so take it away.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm blessed to be here. By the way, too. Like, I'm humbled and honored.
I told you my dude, man. Once we got connected, I told you we connected. I told you that.
Yeah. So. Jeremy mother up there with my beautiful daughter. She just walked into the room. Hey, Lonnie. All right. I'll get it for you in a second, okay? So Jeremy Melvin, it was my first cellie when I was upstate. He was coming back from court. He was on writ. And I just see this muscular dude, and I'm like, yo, bro, this ain't going down like this, bro. Like, I will die about my body, bro. I done dealt with this as a kid. I'm up here now. He just ain't going down this way. Luckily, you know what I'm saying, they didn't have to go there, because he was just this dude who was looking to give back to the youth from the moment I met him. So, yes.
You met him at the right time.
Yeah. I really met somebody who was really trying to invest. Yes. All right, hold on. I'll be there.
It's okay, man. Be that dad, bro.
Yes.
But it was, because he said I got a special guest. So I'm like, who else coming? He didn't tell me about who's coming. Yeah, I'm like, yo, he bringing somebody he didn't tell me, So, and Bell's the guy. He's looking at me. We look at each other like, yo, who's this special guest? And then he says, well, I'm going to bring him on a laptop. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to call somebody from the neighborhood. He's going to call somebody, and he calls this guy up, and the guy's in jail. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't even allow that. I'm thinking to myself, like, we got to be breaking the law. I'm like, we got to be breaking some kind of law here. But not only he called him jail, but he got him on a Zoom call. I'm thinking, like, yo, we got to be doing something illegal here. And I'm going to set it up because it was just like TV. this call is going to be recorded. Anything you say is going to be, and you hear that stuff on TV. But I'm like, but I'm like, man, I'm hearing that live now. I'm actually, I'm like, and the kids are like, the mouth is open, man. They're like, now everybody's like me. I'm in a movie theater. They're like, what's next? We all sit there like Bell. We all like, what's next? What's going to happen? So you back now. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. So it wasn't rehearsed. It was just like, once you told me I was getting ready to be at this school, man, I was like, all right, let me see if I can schedule this visit real fast, man. Because like I have, as a speaker, you're always rating yourself on your last speech, right? So I'm just like, I hope I was able to inspire some type of better decision making. I said, but how can I turn it up? How can I turn it up? And then it just dawned on me, see if there's enough time here to schedule this meeting, schedule it at 11. And I was, thankfully, by the grace of God, I was able to schedule the meeting and get him on a call. He calls the phone first, and he's like, yo, bro, do we got a meeting today? We got a visit today, a video visit? I said, sure do, bro. And he is the guy that's like, this is your calling, bro. I don't care if it takes you 10 years to get this thing going. This is what you're supposed to do. And he's like, yo, we got a visit today? I'm like, yes.
But hold on, you got to say what he said. He said, yo, my head ain't tight.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first thing he said. Like, yo, you scheduled to call, my head ain't tight. I was like, what?
Yeah, he said, bro, man, I ain't looking too good up top, man. I ain't got my hair cut or nothing like that. I said, bro, you can see me. And then he wound up with his little shape ups and broccoli top is better than what I got going on. I could have used his look. It looked more presentable. I love him to death, man. We always tell each other, bro, I love you too. I love you forever. I love you forever, bro. Like, that's really what it is. So he came on that call, man, and I'm just really happy that he was able to share his story. He went to go rob somebody, him and his co-defendant. It didn't work out. It didn't work out that way. They ended up, firing off on him. Dude ended up suffocating on his own blood, ended up dying. But what CP is pointing out is that they had conspired together, that when it hit the news and he found out what really went down, like, 'cause they had thought he died. But when he found out that he died, these two decided to say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to hold ourselves accountable for this, man. No matter what, we're going to hold ourselves accountable for this. And I'm trying to remember the exact words he said, man. They just was like, yeah, we're not going to run away from this. And as soon as they could, they just turned themselves in. And me and him really connected through music. I was an artist. He was an artist. And it's funny because, right, I'm writing speeches now, and I'm getting ready to show y'all the product right here.
Take a look.
Yeah, but and he said a lot of things yesterday that I end up repeating because I think the kids missed some of it. Like he did say, like I thought he got caught. I thought he was going to say, we got caught and we got all this. He was like, nah, he said, and they agreed. They looked at each other. He was like, we looked at each other and we agreed, like, yo, we're gonna do the right thing. And it was like a movie, almost like in a movie, we're gonna do the right thing. So when he said he turned himself in, I was like, wow. And then I think they missed it. That's why I repeated it, because it wasn't like we're going to run, we're going to try to get away from it. It was a mistake. It wasn't on purpose. He was like, yo, we didn't intend for that to happen, but we know what we did.
Yeah. And that decision right there, right? That decision to choose accountability. And that decision, if he doesn't make that decision, who's to say he is who he presented himself to be yesterday, right? If he doesn't make that decision, does he become the man that he is right now?
Yeah.
So it's like that one decision possibly like changed the whole course of his personal development as a young man.
Because he followed up with, I don't know if you recall, was probably the thing that really got their attention. Because I read the room, I know those kids, I'm around them all the time. He said something that was powerful when he said, I was 16 when I got in. He says, I got 8 years to go. He says, and I got the minimum. Then, that's when everybody in the room kind of like sat up like, whoa, you turned yourself in. And to me, and I said this to him, I was impressed because there was no pity. Remember I said it? Yo, there was no pity in him. I'm like, dude, how do you wake up this positive every morning? Yeah, I asked him that question. I was like, yo, dude, how do you, because even when he was talking to the kids, you could hear the remorse in what he did, and you can hear that he understood it, but you also hear like, yo, I got hope. Because then he said, yo, when I get out, I can't wait to do what you guys doing. And I was like, yo, this dude, man, I was like, wow.
Yeah. So to go back, he was one of the three guys that I was talking about when I was incarcerated. Man, it's always poured into me. It was like, yo, I want to get out there and do so much, man. I'm so remorseful for what I did. And the other guy, same thing. Like, I believe it was a robbery in a body. And the other guy, it was a body. So it's like, I'm not talking about people who like a little slap on the wrist, not remorse stuff. Like guys who really was out here prior to the thing that got them all this time. And all of them are serving life. All of them are juvenile lifers. I still keep in touch with them, plus a multitude of guys. I'm talking about maybe 10 to 15 guys that I still keep in touch with. These guys were always like, yo, I can't wait to get out there because I just feel like I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, bro, trust me, you're doing a lot more than people that's actually out there. And then when they get on the phone, they start really like questioning their quotes. They're like, dang, I am doing more than a lot of people out there. But that just motivates them even more. That just gives them more hope.
So let's get the book. You jumped me with the book. Let's get the book, man. Let's talk about the book, man.
So the book, What I Would Do for You. Jeremy Melvin, Malachi Armstrong. That's his name, Jeremy Melvin, Malachi Armstrong. It's a children's book, man, and our pictures are right here. That's his picture.
Well, I got to tell you, I got a ball in my stomach when you told me it was a children's book. That's awesome, because man. I don't think people look at two people in jail for what they did to write a children's book. I was like, wow. And then from that moment on, I was like, yo, I gotta get that book. I gotta get that book, man. So I want you to talk about it because I want people to get the book.
Yeah, like
I want people. Yeah. So talk about the book a little more. Like, don't give it all away. Talk about how they can get the book. Yeah, how did the idea come about? What made two men in jail, for murder, come up to write a children's book?
Right. So this guy is like the sole reason why I'm on this path. When I came home, he was always awesome. Yeah, it's cool to have an 9-to-5, but you want to do some entrepreneurial stuff. The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, not just this year, but like around the time when I came home, and he was like, "You need to get some T-shirts and get out there." And he always had these like ideas on the side to make, like before side hustles became popular. I had just came home, and he was like, "You got to get these side hustles going." He was always that type of dude, and I believe that's part of the reason why now that I'm in this field, I'm recognizing like, yo, it was him pushing all along to become familiar with something that is like that's becoming what it's becoming now. And it was totally all of his idea. He sent the script to me. I redid the script, sent it back to him. He approved it. I went and found an illustrator on Fiverr. I paid, he paid, we put our money together, and we put this book out here, man. And I remember when I called him and I was able to show him the book. Milani loves the book. She reads the book with me.
That's awesome.
The first page is "Hello, little one. I just want you to know." She's right there with me saying it. So she loved the book, and she always goes to the end, and she goes to the back, and she says, "That's Major," because that's his name, Major. And she looks at me and goes, "That's Dad." And I say, "Yeah, that's Dad." And I think for men everywhere, they need to hear this, man. When your child points out an accomplishment that you set out for yourself, there's no better feeling. When your child can point to something physical, even if it's something that she sees in you that is really outstanding as far as character or personality trait, it's no better feeling than when your child, because it measures your success as a father and as a man. When your child can look at you and point something out in their own respect, from their own perspective, and be like, "I appreciate that," or "That's you," or "That's my dad." When they can do that, bro, it's powerful. So, putting this children's book out, it's a hyperbole of things that we would do for our children because we love them so much. So like one of them is I'll spin on the unicorn's horn, right? So one foot at a time until my shoes are torn, I'll spin on the tip of the unicorn's horn. It's just going out of our way to show our children how much we're willing to do for them. But when you think about how much we actually really do, I think the hyperboles are funny, but they really fit the lengths that we're willing to go to in order to demonstrate our children that we love them. It's not just the word, it's the action, it's the deed.
I'd love to hear.
Well, we don't get the book, so you and I got to get an autographed copy though. I need an autographed copy.
I was going to say, tell people where they can find it at, where they can.
I'll pay for it, but I need an autographed copy.
Like where can people find and purchase the book? And how long has it been out now?
It's been out since 22, so it's been out for 3 years now. I've done some revisions to it. it's available wherever you get your books. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. You can type in Alaka. You can type in What I Would Do for You. It's a blue book with a rainbow and a unicorn and a leprechaun on it, and it's available everywhere, man. And I think it's a nice lengthy book too. It's about 45 pages. It's all types of funny, humorous situations and scenarios of what we're doing for our children, what we do for them.
How much are they?
$20.
Right, you got to tell the folk, man. You got to tell them, man. Yo, the cost of the book,
No so
because I tell you what, because I already got plans. One, I want to purchase some books. I'm gonna get you into the after school program. You know, we got to work on the story a little bit because it's got to be age appropriate. But when I get my shoulder back, man, I'm gonna try to get some assembly scheduled for them to school.
I guess what is age appropriate? What is the book age group for?
Well, no, not just the book, his story, not just the book part, just the story to lead up to the book. Because I got some middle schools who need to hear that part too. We just can't be telling them about clapping cheeks. We got to remember the audience that we talking to, but they hear that part. But I want to do so. I want to do soon. I get my shoulder back, and hopefully, I want to set up a couple assemblies. Like I was talking to Bell, because I think much more than those 10 guys need to hear this.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out how to do it because I would love to have your boy a part of this. So that's something we can talk about. Sure. But my other question is, how did you get to this place? The same question I asked him because I know when we first met, we kind of, and it's a different story when you tell somebody over the phone, or a text message. But when I heard you tell it for the first time, and I'm not going to say the name of the school, we're in there, it was a whole different thing, and. Yeah. What got you to the point where, because you talked about how you felt, how did you get over that though? How did you just say, okay, I know I'm dealing with this, but guess what? I'm not going to let this hold me back.
Yeah, no, honestly, bro, there's no getting over it. You just have to recognize that in it is strength. You get that strength when you inspire, influence, and impact other people to make a better decision. I'm going to say it again. There is no getting over this. There's no getting over the fact that I killed 3 young men's mother. They're never going to be able to see their mother again. Like they got to live the rest of their life knowing that she's dead. She's not coming back. The grandchildren have to ask their parent, "Hey, where's grandma?" And they got to explain to them about. And she just came in and grabbed the book. All right, I'll be out there to read the book in a second. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Bye, Lonnie. Nah. And you never get over it, but you find a strength in it because, like, the message is, I hope, I pray, I submit to you. I'm trying to equip you. I'm trying to empower you. I'm trying to encourage you to make a better decision. I don't want to see you in the same position as me. I don't want to see you having to go through something similar in order to be like, yo, bro, was right.
So, one thing I would say, what would you say is next for your message and your mission? I feel like you have your public speaking and your book, 2 things that seem to be going well for you at the moment. Is there anything else that you plan to, I guess, incorporate to kind of broaden your message and reach?
For now, I'm focused on schools, churches, shelters, prisons. I'm working with the Covenant House, which is the shelter I stayed at for a few years, 2 years. I'm working with them right now. They have this like documentary type of situation coming up, and they want me to share a bit of my story. They also have a sleep out event coming up in May. They want me to speak there as well, and something further down the line that they want me to speak at as well as they want me to accompany them down City Hall to the Homeless Council's office to share 2-minute testimony about what the Covenant House was able to do for me, who I've become and where I'm at now. So whatever type of work that I can do with those facilities, because those facilities had a huge impact on me. You wouldn't think that prison had a huge impact on somebody. Obviously, like I'm living proof that it can have a positive, productive impact on you. Schools, churches, and shelters, man. If I could do anything with them, the sky is up from there. Everything else that blossoms or bubbles from those 4 ventures right there is all praise to God.
Well, men, because I got a guy that I want to connect you with, Joe Douglas, and he doesn't mind me telling the story. I met Joe Douglas when I was doing workshops in SCI. And people behind bars say a lot of stuff. Man, I'm going to connect with you when you get out, man. I'm going to do this. So fast forward. 3 years later, I'm doing this workshop, and who walks in? And he says, "Hey, yo, I told you I was going to find you, and I saw your name. We got to reconnect." And long story short, he's like a director over at Impact. He works with men, especially incarcerated men, helping find jobs. He's on the board of my nonprofit. If I call him, he shows up. And we have this amazing relationship. So, but I think you need to widen your audience a little bit, because there's a lot of grown men who need to hear that story. Because there's a lot of men who quit for far less things than you went through, who they just give up on life. And I think it's important and that's why I wanted to have you here. That's why I had you on the call Monday. And that's why I'm going to try to get some assemblies set up. Because I think it's important that especially men hear the message. Because we got men just dropped out, man. They stopped seeing their kids. They stopped doing this. They stopped doing that, and they got all this woe is me stuff. And I get that. But look, hearing you overcome what you overcome is like, man, how could I quit?
Yeah. So, if we could get through our guys' head that the only way they lose is if they don't choose to win.
I like that. Say that again, man.
The only way they lose if they don't choose to win.
Mm-hmm. So now we even. You won't steal mine, I stole yours. So we gonna be.
yeah, no doubt. That's what we're here for, man. Iron sharpens iron. So as long as you don't choose to lose, you're going to win. Just find a way. The way will open up for you. The door will open up for you. That is a universal principle. It's not going to stop working because I just gave it to Mr. Pender. It's going to work whoever Mr. Pender passes it to. It's not. It's going to work for everybody. Just don't quit. Don't give up.
And you can use my discipline one. That's yours. Take it and run with it, bro.
yeah. I'm definitely taking that one.
Shit, sharing lines back and forth here.
But I just think, so we got a couple minutes. So I don't know if Chris has any more questions, but I want to give you some, some time if you got any closing thoughts, something you want to share. So I'll let Chris go, and then whatever you want to say, bro, the stage is yours, man.
I mean, that was kind of going to be my next question in a way, is just like, what is something specific or a thought that you would like to leave or share with our listeners just based off of your story and your experience?
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, it's always going to be one better decision, man. One better decision away from becoming better people, living better lives. But in the same token, I want to talk about education. I want to talk about teaching and learning for a second. We have to recognize that whether we're saying something, whether we're not saying something, whether we're in action, meaning doing something, because inaction is also a word too, but I'm using that as well. So whether you're doing something, whether you have some action going, or whether you're in action, you're teaching somebody, and somebody is learning from you. You're educating somebody. So you've got to be real mindful of the things you say, the things you do, and the things you're not doing, because somebody is learning from you. And the decisions you make have a ripple effect, whether you see it or not.
And that was another thing I appreciated, that you, and Melvin is his name, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. And I know it wasn't rehearsed, which made it that much better, when y'all both kept talking about how important it is to keep learning.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the discussions, and you've been a part of, I have with them is, why I got to go to school, why I got to learn this, why I got to do that. I'm so tired of school, and they don't get that part. So when both of you said that, especially when he talked about how he kept learning behind bars,
Right, and how he was helping other guys get their GED behind bars.
Yeah, and how he was taking it personal. He was like, yo, when they didn't get it, I was like, wow, yeah. So for me, that's our follow-up conversation with them is, yo, if he doing that behind bars, why are you blowing the free opportunity?
Come on now. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing I wanted to kind of say, just add to the conversation as we close things out. I know we just mentioned a lot of you speaking to kids and just kind of the youth, but as my dad said, I do agree there's like a universal message here, for any and everybody of all ages, especially when it comes to just making the most of your time and piling on, one good decision on top of another, ultimately to, at the end of the day, win. So I greatly appreciate, the opportunity to meet and connect and hear your story. And I want to hopefully, be within the school so I can catch it in person. I know it's certainly different, versus what we probably said or had here today. So no, definitely appreciate you, Coach Kai.
Well, I'm working on something. If I can pull it off, and I can say it now, I know a friend of mine has an ice cream parlor. So I was thinking about a double-edged sword. I was thinking about maybe we could go broadcast from there and bring in some live guests.
That'd be dope.
And still be a fundraiser. Yeah, and people can buy ice cream and stuff. So we all helping each other out. So matter of fact, I'm gonna make a special trip to talk to him to see if we can get it set up because I would love to get you in the situation live, man. I would love to do that, and it's kind of crazy, but I would also love. I don't know if they allow that. I would love to get Melvin, like, yo, Melvin.
I mean, we could probably figure it out.
Well, I'm talking about his end. If they would allow him to do that, I don't know, but I would love to get him for a couple minutes as well, man.
Because people come in and out.
I was really impressed. No, I was impressed by him. I was really, truly, and he said he was impressed by me. I was like, yo, dude, you have no idea. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, the way he was articulate, his passion for helping people, the fact that he was like, I'm going to get on this call. And he spoke to the kids. He didn't threaten the kids. He didn't speak at them. He spoke to them. And he did it in such a way where he wasn't lecturing them, man. He was sharing, I'm sharing this knowledge with you that I learned, and this is how I learned, and this is how you apply it. We got teachers.
That's literally what we said.
Yeah, we got teachers who don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, bro, I know we out of time, man. I told you, you my dude, man. So whatever you need, you got. I told you that, man. So we'll get together and we'll put some stuff together, man. I got my $20 in my book. So what I do is I probably get 5 of them. I'll probably just go and get 5 of them, man.
I appreciate it.
Mine got to be signed, though. Mine got to be signed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I got you. Don't worry about it.
I'm saying mine, and so we'll get that taken care of, man. And we gonna make this thing work, man. We gonna, my goal is at least to get a couple things for the end of the school year. Mm-hmm. See what we can get set up. So when we go back into the school year, we got a calendar.
Have it to go, yeah.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Because we can do something and maybe get a little bit of footage. We can create like a little infomercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little infomercial, man. And we get out there and put some bucks in your pocket too at the same time, man.
Yeah.
But let me, because I think a lot of people will think, oh, he's doing this mission and it's about money. Money is a byproduct of exposure. I told y'all earlier I was studying finance and things of that nature. Money is a byproduct of exposure. So it don't matter what your mission is. The mission makes money. Yeah. So I could be like, don't give me your money. I'm just out here for the good of the cause. People are just going to give you money because you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah. But the other side of this, and I say this all the time, is 3 things. One, and I say this to my kids, man. Anybody who asks me about what I do is, if you chase God, the money will find you. I firmly believe
first the kingdom.
I firmly believe that if you chase God, the money will find you. But I also understand, man, your purpose, provides your passion.
Yes.
And your purpose and your passion, man, that paves the way to success.
Get your paid.
It's also, I believe, people got to get their worth, and they do. So I know you're not doing it for the money, but it's valuable information. And if their skin pigmentation was like 10 shades lighter than us, people be throwing money at them.
Yep, absolutely.
So I just, and I've been doing this a long time, and I know what you're saying, but I also know at some point, you got to eat and live indoors too. so you can keep that in mind, man. And what your information is valuable. I'll say it. We've been together a couple of times. It's valuable. It's valuable, man. And the room, you don't even know how tough that room. You were there when they apologized. Were you there when they apologized?
No, I wasn't in there when they apologized.
Well, at the end, they apologize for their behavior because they usually laughing and joking and giggling, man. Usually I get like 3/4 of the message and they turn into, and they apologize. It was like, hey, I'm sorry. I apologize to you. They're talking about me, and I apologize to, and that's a major step for them.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a major step for them, man. And they were looking for you, but you were tied up because they wanted to say thank you to you. But, I know we got to go, bro. But
that's a great ending.
Let me tell you, man, I see great things for you. I do. That's just me, man. I do. I see great things for you, man. I think if you keep pushing the stone, man, that's my tagline. You keep pushing the stone, it's going to happen, bro. Yeah, all right. So we'll connect, man. We'll definitely connect probably early next week. Or I'll figure out maybe somewhere we can meet up so I can get the books because I know you're in different situations, man. But I do want to get them because I'm gonna put them in. I'm gonna get 5.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kind of get them into after school program. But I do want to set something up, where you can kind of come out and talk, and so the kids can say, look, hey, because you're an author. You're an author, and that they don't get to see a lot of authors either. Remember that they don't get to see a lot of folk who publish books before, not that look like them anyway.
Absolutely.
And especially males. Because I've had female authors come in, getting males to come in is a little more challenging, man. You know,
it's different.
So, bro, we just want to say thank you, man. You know, yo, you my boy, man. You my dude, man. Just know that, man. And you know, anything you need from me,
appreciate you.
Yeah, just let me know, man. You know,
likewise, man. And I'm honored and humbled to be here, man. It was a privilege. Thank you.
And tell Melvin if they're ever looking for some virtual stuff, man. I can do some virtual fatherhood stuff, virtual leadership. I can do that for them, man.
All you have to do is give me the dates. If they're ahead of time enough, I should be able to schedule him on that date, and we can just go from there.
All right, man. But you give him my gratitude too, man. You give him my thanks and my gratitude, man. Let him know that he has no idea. And Bell says the same thing. Me and Bell and I were talking. He has no idea how much that meant to us.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll definitely relay that to him. He calls me almost every day, so he'll definitely hear.
Yeah, I figured that. The way y'all talked, I figured this was. I knew that wasn't the one-off, man. But all right, bro. Appreciate you, man. We be talking, man.
All right, brothers. Y'all take care, man.
All right, take it
easy, man. Thank you.
Sir.
Have a good night. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. And go check out the book. Go get it. As he said, it's everywhere. Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes. Barnes & Nobles, I'm sure, too. They still open?
Yeah, you go off at Barnes & Noble, bro.
But no, man. Let's go.
Barnes & Noble. Last time you read a book. All right,
everything
man.
Online.
Hey, girl. How you doing? Hey, pretty girl. I love that hair. I know Daddy didn't do that. All right, man. We talk to you later, man. Peace.
All right. Say bye-bye.
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 There you have it. Another great episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Pender Sr.
Chris Jr.
You forgot
follow, subscribe, share, comment.
I was about to hit you with that. You didn't hit the follow, subscribe.
I'm on it.
Yo, all right, we'll see you guys next week, man. Talk to you later.